What happens when a county auditor decides that the law doesn't apply to them? You get a rogue auditor who overrides state mandates, ignores federal tax exemptions, and tries to seize a local church to sell at a local tax auction. Today, we're looking at a 4-year nightmare of government overreach within Sullivan County, where a historic church is fighting to save its life against the very officials elected to serve it. Let's give a little bit of background. The land that this church sits on is in Miram, Indiana. It was originally purchased for religious intent all the way back in 1819. The building itself was built in the 1950s by a devoted pastor and a group of local citizens. For decades, it has been a place of peace. In fact, before the current owners took over, the previous congregation went 7 or 8 years without a pastor. But the members faithfully kept the church clean, waiting and praying for someone new to step in and lead them. In 2021, that prayer was answered. A local family, a full-time firefighter, and his wife purchased the building to keep the ministry alive as a prayer center and house of worship. They poured their own time and money into remodeling it to serve the community. This isn't just an LLC on a piece of paper, it's a living, breathing ministry, and right now their local government is threatening to take it away. In 2021, High Ministries purchased a building that had been operating as a church since the 1950s. The owners diligently and immediately set up their federal and state tax-exempt statuses to be ready for their church services. They filed all the necessary paperwork at the courthouse, ready to get things going. And at that point, everything appeared to be in order. However, in the spring of 2023, the church unexpectedly received a tax bill for about $1,800. When the owners contacted the auditor's office, they stated that this was just a transition process and they would quickly get things solved for them. They assured them multiple times that the issue would be fixed. By the spring of 2024, and after 3 separate contacts with the county auditors and assessor's office after being assured that they would take care of them, the county had taxed the church 3 separate times, totaling around $5,000. Every time the church called to correct it, which was many, they were assured that it would be taken care of and they would not have to pay those taxes. Here's where the legalities come into play. The county claimed they were missing a Form 136, a form that the church insists that they absolutely did fill out alongside all of the other necessary forms immediately upon purchasing the church.
I was told that they had never received, I believe it was called a Form 136, and I explained to them that I had filled all that in when we purchased the property.
This form grants them county-level tax-exempt status. Because of this allegedly missing form, the county placed taxes on the church and subsequently placed the church for a tax sale. After no help from the county, the church went before the Property Tax Board of Appeals. This board is responsible for individuals appealing their tax status. And whenever the board actually looked at High Ministries, the church, they in fact recognized, yes, you should be tax exempt and you should not have to pay taxes for 2023 or 2024. They followed the proper chain of command, had all of the paperwork properly and lined out, and now they had this assessment from the Board of Appeals that stated they did not have to legally pay anything. In fact, the county assessor even physically handed this ruling to County Auditor Amy Scarborough. This should have been the end of the story, but Amy Scarborough refused to remove the taxes from the church.
So I go back over there. Amy again says she's not fixing it and tells me that PETA doesn't have the authority to do this. Like, she even said I was not allowed to be in her office anymore, that I needed to leave her office.
Even though she knew they were tax exempt. Auditor Scarborough claimed that she didn't have the authority to remove these taxes, claiming that there was somebody higher up that told her she was not allowed to. However, the Department of Local Government Finances, otherwise known as DLGF, stated that they should be removed.
And DLGF tells me, you pretty much sound like you have a rogue auditor. They're supposed to follow the rulings of the PETA BOA.
At this point, the church owners were trapped in a bureaucratic nightmare. The county eventually stopped charging them new taxes in 2025, finally acknowledging the exemption that they were mandated to by state law. But the auditor absolutely refused to wipe out the back taxes from the previous years as they were ordered to do. Mind you, these were erroneous tax filings by the county auditor, a complete mistake. It shouldn't have happened in the first place. And on top of that, the county continues to stack excess fees onto the money that the church owes. Today, this fraudulent bill has ballooned to over $8,000 in back taxes. And the county courthouse, in spite of knowing that they shouldn't be charging them anything, is threatening to continue to put them on the tax sale to have their church auctioned off. Desperate to solve this the legal way, the church has went all the way to the highest appeal in Indiana, which is the Indiana Tax Court.
I actually just even talked to the Indiana tax court. They said no. They said, really, like, there's no reason for you to do a document trail through us of any sort. There's nothing for you to fill out. You won your appeal case, so you don't appeal to the state. They said, we're not attorneys. We can't tell you what to do. If it was me, I would hire an attorney. I was able to get a hold of one of our former state attorney generals that said, she don't have any ground to stand on to do this. Why in the world would she put property taxes on your church? I was asked, who'd you make mad over there?
And they figured they would just appeal the decision that the county auditor was refusing to fulfill. But the state's response highlighted just how unhinged the situation had become. The tax court told them they couldn't even file an appeal because legally, the church had already won. As of 2026, 4 years into this ordeal, Amy Scarborough, the county auditor, is still refusing to remove these illegal taxes and still attempting to place this church on a tax sale. This is a glaring example of local government ignoring the law, disregarding state-level mandates, and punishing its own citizens, and who knows why. It's time for Sullivan County officials to answer for this. But at the end of the day, what do you do when your county refuses to follow the law and seems to be content with targeting a church? And if they'll target a church, who won't they target? Because we've seen the same behavior alleged from the Scarboroughs towards Angela Allen, where they targeted both of her jobs to get her fired. What more are they willing to do? What laws are they willing to break and bend? And in our next episode, we're going to go over the audit from the State Board of Accounts and look into what's actually going on in the county auditor's office, and what we find might shock you. My name is Adam Wentz, and this is Linton News.